and Jeff right across from me, and we're going to do a channeling session. So we have a sense we might be talking about sideways reality and switching timelines and switching into versions of timeline that we prefer, but let's see what comes through. So I'll go into a channeling state, and Jeff will be providing the questions. So I'll see you on the other side. Good day to you. We welcome you to the realms of light, where the vast majority of who you are also exists. We welcome you to these realms of light. We welcome you to another transmission whereby we will facilitate a synchronization between your physical minds and your higher minds. Thusly, we understand there are some questions due to the nature or about the nature of sideways reality or parallel realities, as you like to say. The idea being that the creativity of all that is cannot be possibly contained in one timeline as you understand time. Thusly, the idea is that all of manifestation exists in the here and now, in the spacious present, as many of you Seth readers like to say, in the eternal now moment. And you as a consciousness create the experience of tracing through this completed reality in a highly unique and individualized way, and therefore it is infinitely creative. For out of this infinity of manifestation, you create a unique time-space reality format experience, moment by moment, one facet of the crystal, and then on to the next, and on to the next, like turning around the crystal with infinite facets in your hand and seeing each facet one by one. There is a level of consciousness where you perceive the entire crystal, and there's a level of consciousness whereby you are turning that crystal and experiencing it facet by facet. Now, you can turn this crystal in any which direction, left, right, and up and down, and this creates what you perceive as a kind of timeline, not unlike the timelines that you have in your modern movie making equipment, softwares that you use. But you're experiencing a multidimensional capacity to fill in that timeline and create that sense of continuity from moment to moment. But understand all the moments exist simultaneously, and the unique creativity that you experience is the movement of your consciousness through these facets that already exist. Thusly, you have an infinite variety of possibilities of experiencing yourself. And yet, paradoxically enough, everything already exists, everything already is, because existence is, that is its quality. Thusly, from your vantage point, you experience existence becoming. However, existence ultimately is, and time is subject to existence. Existence is not subject to time, it already is. It is the case. So with your perceptive mechanism, it is as if you take that capacity to see the entire crystal and you focus yourself down, focus yourself down, focus yourself down. And each time you focus yourself down, you are, in a manner of speaking, dropping yourself down a dimension, down a dimension, down a dimension, till you get to this very unique vantage point that you call your time-space reality that you're familiar with. And now you have this very, very minuscule but very highly focused point of consciousness, and now you can shift from stone to stone as if you were hopping across a river, facet by facet. You experience yourself moment to moment, and this is the nature of your reality as you experience it to be. Now, this gives you tremendous capacity to shift to any reality that you prefer that is relevant with the theme of exploration you've set up for yourself. Now, you might perceive this when you perceive your own timeline that you're familiar with its own inherent trajectory, moving from what you call a past to a future with yourself in this position, you might consider the analogy that there are many parallel time tracks right next to you, to the right of you and to the left of you. And this is where the expression shifting sideways in time comes from, because you are very much familiar with the forward momentum of time, or the momentum of yourself through time, if you will. And it would seem as if you have one future and one past, and you have one linear progression. However, if you introduce the concept of parallel time streams, you can get to the notion that you can hop from one time stream to the next, and to the next, and to the next, sideways in time, as it were. Now, this is an analogy, but a very useful analogy to help you to realize that your future is not preordained, neither is your past already created in the manner of speaking of past. Of course, everything already exists. However, you do have the capacity to shift in a way that shifts not only your future, but also your past. And this will tickle your brain quite a bit, because your brain is physically focused and tuned to the physical reality as you experience it to be moment to moment, with the impression that you have a crystallized past. However, when you shift to alternate timelines, whatever past you perceive yourself to have is the past that will seem like it's the past you've always had. However, you will have experiences where you shift timelines, and then you have memories of two different pasts, and this will be very much there to help tickle your brain and help you to realize that there is much more going on than you previously supposed. Now, we understand there are some questions as to the nature of sideways time, and so we want to open it up for that kind of back and forth discussion.
Thank you, Illi. It's nice to talk with you again.
Indeed.
And in one of your previous transmissions, you were talking about the first time I actually was introduced to the terms of sideways reality. Sideways in time. It was an aha moment for me, because I immediately understood what you were saying, and I was able to draw the pictures in my mind. But I understand that this is a very different way of thinking. For most of us, we're aware of upstream realities, which is our future realities, and our downstream realities, which is our past realities. Even though there really is no future or past. But to think there are sideways realities also was really a mind bender. Can you tell me that when we go into the sideways reality or sideways in time, are we actually observing, or is that part of our current selves' timelines, or would that be an alternate self, or another entity where we share the same oversoul? I really don't know how to describe this. Is it us in the parallel realities, or is it other versions of us? Or is it other souls from our oversoul that we are observing in parallel tracks going alongside of ours?
It's other versions of you. And the way you asked your question, you can answer it as all of the above in a manner of speaking. Because understand these are simply delineations and definitions of a oneness, and splitting it into many in order to facilitate a kind of understanding. So of course, you all will share the same oversoul. Now you can say that you all share the same soul in a manner of speaking, because you have one soul exploring a particular theme, and you have many variations of that theme, so that soul would want to experience it from many angles, shall we say. And thusly you can, in a manner of speaking, consider that it's one soul that has many parallel versions of itself projected into time-space reality. Now understand that these answers are not something to concretize, but rather to use as springboards into understanding, because sometimes as soon as you define something as this, your physical mind will want to interpret it as meaning it is also not that. However, it is this and that. Thusly, this is one perspective we are sharing that is tuned to the manner in which you're asking the question. However, if you ask the question in another way, you might get another answer that looks at the crystal from another angle, if that makes sense. So we are simply wanting to highlight that you don't want to get too attached to the words and the definitions, but rather to use them as a springboard into your own understanding and comprehension of this concept, which will light up as you absorb the energy of the answer itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. A thought just popped in my mind, and I think right now would be a good time to ask it. It's one of Seth's concepts about being able to go backwards and forwards in time, or should we say upstream and downstream in time, and observing what's going on in that time period without interacting with that. Is that something that we can do?
Of course. You can perceive in every direction. It is only your particular belief system that, in a manner of speaking, forces you to perceive only a tiny portion of reality and to be landlocked, shall we say, from the ocean of consciousness in which you swim, which is essentially who you truly are. You are the ocean, pretending you're a drop within the ocean, creating arbitrary boundaries around this drop. And the cosmic humor is that all these delineations are completely arbitrary, and yet they are real as experiences, because that is what creates this unique focal point within the all that is multidimensional crystal. So it is both a cosmic humor in a manner of speaking, and at the same time it is a highly efficient system of perceiving reality piecemeal, as it were. Does that answer your question?
It does, and to make it a little more clearer, is the question, I believe, was that is it possible for me to be sitting here physically, but yet observing everything around me as if it were 200 years ago?
You have this ability, this mobility of consciousness, and it has been demonstrated many, many times upon your world. Many have written accounts of perceiving past experiences. You have yourself tuned into parallel versions of yourself, experiencing what you would call past from your current vantage point. Mm-hmm. Thusly, here we get into that side of the original answer, because in a manner of speaking, all of your lives are parallel lives. Thusly, it depends how you define soul over soul and physical experience. Because at another level, you would say that at some point, you would say it is a quote-unquote different soul having an experience of another life in another time frame. But yet you could also say that these are parallel lives and parallel existences, all certainly part of the same oversoul. So it gets a little bit dependent upon how you ask a question as to the nature of the answer that you will receive.
So if we can do that in the past, then we can also project ourselves into the future?
Absolutely. This is what many of your psychics do. They create predictions based on the trajectory they're seeing your current self demonstrate and extrapolate from that. Pull from the ethers, shall we say, the version, the parallel, the probable version of their future based on their current energy signature. Of course, if you change your energy signature, you automatically shift to another version of your future, another version of yourself, which renders you into another future and even another present, as it were. So many of these futures are available, and this is why predictions are not always so precise from your vantage point, because often the prediction itself causes an awakening within the consciousness receiving the prediction that shifts their energy, and immediately they are in another reality. So very often, paradoxically, the prediction itself causes itself to be irrelevant because a person shifts their energy by virtue of hearing the prediction. Does that make sense?
It does, but couldn't you also say that by hearing the prediction, the person can actually create that?
Absolutely. It can work both ways. So if it is a prediction that you prefer and you get very excited about it, you might draw yourself into that reality even more precisely, coherently. And at the same time, if you hear a prediction that you don't prefer and it stirs within you all kinds of fears and it reveals that you have some negative beliefs that are running you in that direction, shall we say, colloquially speaking, then you actually accelerate your movement towards that, unless you use the fears that are coming up and the desire to shift, to investigate what beliefs are moving you in the direction of the future that you don't prefer. And as you investigate those and shift yourself by virtue of understanding that you have the capacity to shift your belief matrices, which will put you on parallel timelines, then you will have rendered the prediction obsolete. However, if you simply buy into the fear, then you are amplifying your movement towards that which you fear. So it works both ways.
So if you were to meditate and see a variety of probable realities, it's actually possible to pick and choose which ones you want to experience?
Your belief matrix is what picks and chooses them. So because your consciousness is so fragmented and compartmentalized, we have to be very precise in our definition, because if you say you want something on the surface level of your personality and yet you have a belief that says you cannot have that, the belief is what is primary. And you can want all you want, but you cannot have what you do not believe that you are. Thusly, it requires a fundamental shift at the belief level, at the knowing level, rather than simply picking and choosing at that surface personality level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what you're saying is that if you believe it to be true, it is.
Absolutely. You cannot experience the reality of what you do not believe that you are. Thusly, you must own the vibration for there to be a reflection like an echo in your physical reality. If you do not believe that, you can want it all you want, but you have to own the vibration for you to have the reflection in your physical reality, whether earlier or later because of the lag in time-space reality. But you must first own that vibration, and eventually, either immediately or through a process of time, you will have that reflection come back to you.
Now, going back to the sideways realities, not only can we go sideways in time, but we can go upstream and downstream in the sideways
Well,
track?
you are moving upstream and downstream by the nature of the reality that you have bought into and set yourself within. So that process happens automatically. You are shifting and shifting and shifting. So let us say you have a row of stones in front of you across the river. And so that would be your so-called linear progression through time, moment to moment to moment. And then now consider you have many rows of stones. So you not only have that parallel, that line in front of you, but you have many parallel lines to the side. So you have a grid, as it were. Now you constantly shift by the nature of your consciousness. So there's this perception of moving, quote unquote, forward in time. That is automatic. Now what you are gaining a sense of is like a rudder in a boat. You're recognizing that you have a degree of control over how you shift. So you are not only shifting forward unconsciously the way you might in an unconscious dream experiences that seem to happen to you. You actually have your hand on the rudder and you can turn the rudder to the left and to the right and shift sideways. Now the shifting is automatic. It's built into your consciousness. It's a matter of degree of consciousness with which you become lucid in your physical waking life, that you can shift to the left or to the right, as it were, to use this metaphor. Thusly, you shift to the right, and while you shift forward, you're then also shifting yourself sideways, as it were. So each time you shift sideways, it's like, to use this analogy, shifting to a completely new row of stones. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I keep being drawn back to your analogy of the looking above the cubicles.
Yes.
As we get further into fourth density, we're able to go higher. There's really not a higher or lower, but we're able to rise above the linear, seeing things linearly, to more seeing all the reality tracks because we're above it looking down instead of on the same plane looking forward.
Indeed. That is the quality of consciousness. So you can have your very unique physical experience, if you wish, and experience the stone to the fullest at the same time simultaneously. Remember this and that. You also have the added benefit, shall we say, of rising above the cubicle and being able to see the stones as they lay out in the grid work pattern, to continue using this analogy, and thusly the ability to choose more easily, having a greater sense of the mechanics of consciousness. Another way to put this is you're becoming lucid in your waking life, realizing that life is not something that happens to you the way an unconscious dream seems to be a series of events that happen to you. The idea is that you become lucid and you can take ownership, take stock and take ownership and awakening within the physical dream, direct the course of your life. And this is very exciting.
Are there any exercises or ways that we can better observe or go forward or backward in time or sideways in time, maybe through meditation? It's going above things and seeing the whole picture. It's kind of could be overwhelming. Is there a way to better get a handle and kind of do it whenever you want to do it? Just say, I want to go up this reality stream and check it out and see what's there, or I want to switch sideways and I want to go backwards in that reality stream and see what's going on just for the fun of it. Is there any techniques or things that we can do to help us do that more easily?
We are going to answer this question in another way, because the way your physical minds have been trained is the physical mind tries to orchestrate reality. And this is not what it was designed for, and not what your soul originally came in with. You came in with this other perspective, shall we say. The idea being that what Seth has described as acting on your impulses, what Bashar has described as acting on your passion, that is what you came here for. And so it's a bit like putting the cart before the horse when you attempt to orchestrate your reality, so to speak, ahead of time, rather than really being in that moment, being in that stepping stone and receiving that impulse from the higher mind and jumping to the right. Not because you've got it all figured out, but because that's the most exciting path. And so you act on that impulse, you act on that passion, you jump to the right because it's the most exciting thing you can be doing in that particular moment. And as you do so, you raise your frequency, and that gives you the ability to have that vaster vantage point where you see the synchronicity, you see how all the stepping stones are really aspects of one all-encompassing reality, rather than these moments that you feel trapped within or landlocked within. You gain these greater perspectives as a virtue of running more of your soul's energy through the acting on your impulses, the acting on your passion. That is what raises your frequency. So that is technique number one, which requires a bit of letting go of attempting to orchestrate it from the physical mind's level, and to trust your passion, to trust your impulses, to act on those impulses, to translate more of that transdimensional energy through your physical being as you hop to the right or to the left, depending on where your excitement takes you. And in so doing, you will drop that frequency of your soul into your physical body, and that is what gives you the expanded sense of awareness. And then you can see the perfect synchronization, you can see the bigger picture, you can feel yourself a part of it, but it is the cart and the horse. You see, you act on your passion, you act on your impulses first, and then you gain those sort of bigger, vaster perspectives. Does that make sense?
It does. And through our discussions, it helps me to better understand what is happening, so I can more easily relax into the flow.
Yes.
And steer the ship better.
Yes.
Not worrying that I'm going to hit rocks up ahead.
Yes, exactly. See, you came here, and this is what we were getting at in the first place. Your purpose for being here is to be, of course, your truest, most natural self as well as you can be. But you came here for this element of surprise. You came here, you reduced your consciousness in just such a way so you can have the experience of moment to moment, experiencing these portions of who you truly are, moment to moment. So relish that, because that's what you came here for. And when you act on your passion, you are jumping from stone to stone, moment to moment, relishing every aspect of the focus that you created to be here. Otherwise, if you wanted to see the totality, you would not bother coming into physicality. The point of physicality is that unique focus. So use that. Don't try to get out of it so quickly, because you came here to experience exactly that. Now you can have the best of both worlds. This is what fourth density is about. You can have that unique physical focus, so focused right on that unique moment, but at the same time be channeling that incredible soul energy and acting on each impulse, acting on each passion, so that you can hop from stone to stone in the most ecstatic way possible and have the experience of the revelation of the totality while you are so exquisitely physically focused. For you cannot expand your consciousness while resisting or resenting in any way the finite physical focus that you have yourself put yourself into. You see, that is the proper, what is the term you have here? Order of operations. Otherwise, remember the cart and the horse. It's all about having the vibrationally aligned approach of using your experience to the utmost, rather than trying to extricate yourself from it. For as soon as you're trying to extricate yourself from something, get out of something, you've already labeled it in a confining way, and you have bound yourself up in chains or in straitjackets. And this is not what you prefer. Does that make sense?
It does.
Very good.
I'm understanding that more, that the stepping stones might appear to go forward or they might appear to go backwards, but in reality, if you just let yourself relax and enjoy it, the stepping stones will go to the left and to the right and make a circle and go to somewhere else. You just need to be enjoy the ride.
Exactly. You came here to enjoy the ride. That is exactly the point. And you came here to enjoy the exquisite focus as you experience the multidimensional crystal facet by facet, moment by moment.
And I can understand where a lot of people might find it difficult, because in today's society is so much fear. Fear porn is everywhere on television, in society, holding people back. So I think if we just work on letting go of the fear, that it would be a good thing.
Using the fear in a positive way. Because the fear is there only if you buy into, and each person has the choice to do this consciously or unconsciously, the negative beliefs that are being peddled about by a variety of individuals and institutions, and simply, in a manner of speaking, being passed down from generation to generation, colloquially speaking, time, space, reality speaking. All these old third density concepts are being passed on, as it were. But each person has a choice to buy into it or not. And you can, in a manner of speaking, bless the amplification that you now have with your modern media apparatus, because it helps to accentuate the fact that you are constructing a fear-based society. Thusly, with the fear amplified to such a degree as it is today, you can roll your sleeves up and begin the work of consciousness, because it is much more that you have the propensity to wake up from a nightmare than you can wake yourself from a normal day-to-day type dream. So use the fear in a positive way. Use it to recognize if you are buying into that which has been third density. And if you are, then by all means get down to the belief system that's generating the fear. The fear is a messenger. That is all that it is. It's a very useful messenger to let you know you're running your energy through a belief that you do not prefer. So bless the amplification of the fear, because then it helps you to see exactly where the negative beliefs are. For the fear will take you directly to them if you use fear as the messenger that it is designed to be. Does that make sense?
Yes. And practice forgiveness.
Absolutely. Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of all that is, forgiveness of anything and everything. For you must accept yourself as you are and accept existence as it is, to fully appreciate the moment and use it up in the most powerful, beneficial way.
Because we're entering the love vibration.
Indeed. And part of the reason for the amplification of the fear frequency upon your planet now is to highlight that you are constructing your reality out of fear-based beliefs, thusly giving you that ability to shift. And you have a saying on your planet, it is darkest before the dawn, and so you're experiencing the last vestiges of the fear frequency as it tries to hold on, in a manner of speaking. For the negative beliefs will put up, well, let's just say colloquially, they'll put up quite a fight before you really let them go, because the nature of the negative beliefs, the nature of any beliefs, is to reinforce and perpetuate themselves. And so there's this mechanism that when you are ready to put down the belief, there's this last stand, shall we say, where those beliefs just try to one last time convince you that they are the reality and that you should buy into them. Thusly, you know that you're right on the edge of a powerful transformation for those of you that choose it.
No, that's very nice. That's very nice.
Indeed.
We've covered a lot of things.
Yes.
So why don't we wind this down and then give us any closing thoughts that you may want to share with us?
Indeed, we have covered much much for the metabolization and digestion. Thusly, we don't have much of a closing comment other than use passion to skip and a hop from a stone to stone, and don't try to figure it out. And if it becomes relevant, or if it is your passion and your excitement to get those vaster vantage points and glimpses, you will naturally experience that, for it is you yourself that you are experiencing, and that is the nature of your consciousness, to be connected to all it is. Thusly, allow yourself to enjoy the ride and enjoy the mystery of life, and enjoy sometimes not knowing what's around the corner, because that's what you signed up for. And that which is meant to be revealed will be revealed if you stay in the vibration of your passion, of your excitement, and as Bashar likes to say, with zero insistence on the outcome, for that is what really drops your frequency into resistance. Then all that is meant to be revealed will be revealed to you in all due and proper timing. So enjoy the finite physical focus, and enjoy sometimes not knowing where things are going. Enjoy the excitement, enjoy the ride. And so we will then, at this timing, wish you a very beautiful and a fond good day. All right. Thank you all for joining us for that. Turns out Illi had more to say than I thought he would, or they would, or that consciousness would. So thanks for joining us, and I'll see you in the next video.